Hello.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another Thomas Hardy Readalong live show. And
Woo.
today we are discussing, oh God, my book is hidden.
The best of
Far,
them all.
far from the madding crowd. I love your copy so much. I mean, those
Me
editions
too.
are beautiful.
I
Yeah.
annotated it on my first read, so it was a
Oh,
very lazy read for me this time around.
oh, that's fine. Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
talk about that because this is a reread for you, so it will be fun to kind of compare our experiences for sure. I really love mine as well. I found it at a secondhand store, and it's very pretty. I really like
Very
it.
nice. Yes.
Mm. All right, so we're going to be talking about this book. If you're here and you still haven't read it, don't worry because we always start with a spoiler-free section, and we will also share our ratings if we have some ratings, which I think we do. So feel free to remain here for at least the few first minutes because we will not spoil anything for now. So with that said, let me just put this yes. All right. So, because this was a reread for you, Milena, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience with this book? How many times you've read it? Because I don't know if this was your second, third, I don't know.
That was my first read.
Oh, okay, cool. And how was it? Do you
But
still?
well, I've learned that I probably shouldn't reread classics that I really
Mm,
love because this is the second time where I reread a classic and I love it less than I did on
oh,
the first time around. I had the same
mhm,
with Mansfield Park. And I feel that there is more space created to see some flaws in a book or in characters that
mhm,
you just, because your expectations are so neutral on your first read, that you kind of
mhm,
gloss over. And then on your second read, your expectations are really high because I gave it a 5 star, I think, the first time around.
mm,
So I started to notice um, some more flaws, for example, in Oki's character, in Bathsheba, as her character development did or did not work in a way that Thomas Hardy chose to write women versus men,
mm.
which I like. When I read a Victorian novel, I have no expectations whatsoever in that regard because men be men. But usually with Thomas Hardy, I feel like he does a good job, and this being some of his earlier work,
Mm,
I do feel you can notice that a little bit in how he
mhm,
writes his women. Um, so yeah, I didn't think I loved it as much as the first time around, but I still think it's such a solid novel, and
mhm,
it's his most famous one for a good reason. Um,
mhm.
that I did still find it really interesting, and I really enjoyed it, and especially the last third of the book. I just raced through it because I knew what was going to happen, and I just wanted to experience it again.
Mm,
So yeah, I still really love this book, and I still think it has so many of the great things that maybe his other books try to do, but there's a lot of noise, I think, in his other books, and this
mm,
book is so much more clearer, so much more direct.
mm.
Yeah, I still really really loved it.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's a fair point when you reread any book, but I guess maybe with classics even more, you do start to notice more flaws within them. I guess I think that's a
Yeah.
very valid experience, and it happens to me a lot. That's why I keep pushing my rereads of my favorite classics, because I'm not
Mhm.
sure if they're favorites anymore, which is okay, of course. But it's interesting to get another perspective. I'm glad you still love it though. That's what matters the most, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's good.
The
Yeah.
only rereader that has never disappointed is Virginia Woolf. That's
Mm,
of course.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you? What did you think as a first time reader?
Yes, this is my first time reading this book, and now I need to see the movie because, according to you, it is beautiful. And from what I read, I completely believe that because the descriptions of nature and the atmosphere, as always with Thomas Hardy, I would say, are beautiful. So I really want to see that on screen. With that said, I really enjoyed this one. I think it is, no, I don't think, I'm sure this is my favorite so far out of all the ones we've read for the readathon. I definitely think it is the strongest novel. Um, I did struggle a little bit with the beginning. I would say the first 90 to 100 pages or so. And then we have kind of our first big plot points, and that's where things started to pick up for me a little bit. Um, I definitely was expecting it to be, and we kind of mentioned it a little bit before going live, but I was expecting it to be a bit more romantic. And I thought it was a bit bleak and a bit
Oh,
passive aggressive once in a while, which I guess it's fine. It just wasn't what I was expecting. So it took me a while to really, adjust my way of thinking to this book, I guess. Um, I do think it does have a lot of flaws when it comes to writing some of the characters. And of course, like you said, we can expect that with classics, and especially Victorian classics, I guess, when it comes to women. I do think it does a lot of things that are good and positive, on the other hand. But I did struggle a little bit reading a few of these characters and some of their relationships. Overall, it was a positive experience. I would still give it, I think, 4 stars. I think
oh,
so.
that's high
It is
for
high.
you.
It
Yeah.
is high. I know I'm sounding a bit negative, but I swear I liked it. I think it does a lot of things right, and it's very intriguing. Again, I love the atmosphere, and I do think the characters, while they are very flawed people, and that's also what makes them a little interesting, I would say.
Mhm.
You do care for some of them, not all of them. You care for some of them
Oh,
enough to be interested and engaged by the story. And I do think some commentary that Thomas Hardy does here is really good, which we are used to, I would say, whether or
yeah.
not we love his books. I think he always has a very clear message that he wants to portray, and a lot of symbolisms around that, which I appreciate. So overall, I really liked it. It just wasn't what I was expecting, and so I'm not sure if that's because of that it wasn't exactly a favorite or a book that I loved necessarily, but I appreciate it, and I think it's one that will stay with me for a while. So
Mhm.
that's always good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's can often be the case with classics where you really appreciate it.
Hmm.
But for it to be a favorite book, it can be, yeah, a
Hmm.
bit hard.
Yeah, it is. Also, I struggled. I guess this is a trigger warning for some people. It certainly is for me. There's a lot of things related to animals here, and
Yeah.
I had to skip some things because I could not handle it. And so that was a big part of the book, and it is relevant, which I'm glad it is, because sometimes it's not. It's just
Hmm.
there for the sake of being there. And here I understand that it has a point, but I could not read it, so I had to skip quite a
Yeah.
bit. And I guess that also, influenced my reading experience, because I could not, read the full thing necessarily. Um, so that's a little warning, I guess, for people who
Yeah.
might be interested in reading it. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like farming is a very important theme in
Hmm.
this book. So, of course, when animals are included, not everything goes well,
Hmm.
which I really appreciated in the book. I
Hmm.
mean, not the hard things that were to read, but the fact that it was such a big theme. We can talk about that later,
Yeah.
the meaning of farming in this book. But that was
Hmm.
something I actually really liked about it.
Hmm. Yeah, I like it too, apart from those scenes.
Or, yeah.
But then again, I do think it makes sense. So it's not there just for, for the sake of being there, for the shock value. I didn't feel that. It just was a bit of a struggle for me to get through, but, it's okay. um, so, yes, hello everyone. I should ask, I'm sorry, I don't think I did at the start, but let us know what you thought about the book. If you've read it, we would love to hear your thoughts. Please let us know. Is there anything else we would like to say spoiler free, or shall we get to spoilers?
I'm thinking, no, I think everything is to a degree spoilery. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. All right, everyone. So this is your warning. We will start spoiling the book in 3, 2, 1. There it is. All right. So, before that, 5-star read. Yay.
yay.
That's good. Do let us know what you loved about it so much. I would love to hear that. um, all right. So there's a lot of things to talk about here, obviously, and I feel like it does have a lot of similarities in some aspects to other of Hardy's books. I mean, marriage and relationship, love, interests. They're always big themes, I feel like, in his novels, as well as nature and, the whole setting and how that's, important to the plot and character development as well,
Mhm.
which I think for some reason that's always my favorite part about his books is how nature has such a huge influence in how the story goes, no matter what that means. Yeah, I don't know. I really like that. I guess the way he describes how nature acts and how, either small things or big, natural disasters such as happened in the book, how that just makes everyone act in a certain way or change their minds about something. I really like that. Maybe it sounds a bit extreme, but it also gives you perspective about your life, I guess, and makes you act towards something. I really like that. I don't know.
I loved it in this book, especially when it came to Oak. I feel like it mostly connected to him, although there was a big theme of water and fire with Merge. I hope I remember all the events, but the fire, I think it was Beshiba's farm that was on fire that Oak saved, and then there was the rainstorm where Troy didn't do anything, and then he protected her crops, and then Boltwood's crops got destroyed by water, and then later Troy drowns in the water. So I loved how that was all connected, and I feel like if I would sit down like for an hour and just think about all of the connections there, I feel like it would tell a story in itself. And then I feel like almost all of that was connected to farming. I love the way that farming had such an important role in this book, again with those nature elements, but I also really enjoyed how it was like connected to sheep farming with Oak, which we won't really get into, but it was again with the losing and the saving and how that is all connected, I think mostly to Bathsheba's individuality and to her financial stability. Which I love that Oak gave her so many ways in which she could choose not to marry.
Yeah.
Like because of his existence, she kept financially stable throughout so many things where she could have lost the entire farm, both in the fire and when the sheep got sick. I love that. I thought it was so well done. And it made me fall in love with Oak a little bit because only when she had reached maturity, I feel like, and she had that financial stability, did she choose him.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sad it was right at the end of the book, though. Like
It was way too fast.
I
So
know,
much.
like we hardly get any time with both of them, and it's like, oh, it just happened. Now the book ends. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
No.
yeah. It makes you want to write fan fiction. Like,
Kind-
give me 2 more chapters.
I know. Maybe there is fan fiction. Who knows? But I was so sad because I loved Oak too. Although he does have his flaws, obviously, all of them do. But I liked him so much. I mean, it's also not hard to love him when you compare him to the other two guys. But
Oh no, the bar is low.
Jesus, it is. But still, he raises above it, like way, way, way above it.
Yeah.
And so when they finally got together, which that scene to me was a bit too rushed. We can talk about that, but it was so sudden. And then the book ends, and I'm like, no, no, no. Now get a healthy romance, and you're denying me that? No, no.
So mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, just on this topic, obviously, we could talk about Bathsheba's character development, and you mentioned it, right? How she does on the farm, and that gives her a lot of independence and freedom, even financially speaking. And so I guess we can talk about that in comparison to the decisions that she makes in, marrying Troy, and then eventually supposedly Baldwood as well. How do you feel about that? What do you think a woman in her conditions, like with her, stability, I guess? How did you feel about her just marrying Troy and being with him, and then all of the mess that happens that we can get to? But,
I think it was very interestingly done because to me, and I don't know if that was the intention, I think it's a little bit shows Thomas Hardy his low opinion of women in his early age. But to me, it felt like he said, what would a woman do if she had a life of a man? And I feel like she kind of was Boltwood when she married Troy, because she had this passion and this jealousy, and she turned Troy into a lust object, something she wanted to own, by marrying him because she was jealous. So I felt like she had such the maybe innocence and stupidity of a young man, because sometimes we forget, but she was like in her early 20s when all of that happened, or like even 19 or 20. So I feel like she behaved the way that like Boldwood would have done in his early
Mm.
20s, or maybe as he did in his obsession with Bathsheba, because he didn't really know her.
Mm.
So I felt like that was somehow connected well, and I did enjoy that,
Mm-hmm.
to see that she also got the time to have that coming of age that's usually just granted to men, and that her choices were based on
Mm.
her passion and her stupidity as a young person,
Yeah.
and not on security or finance or the wanting of children. But
Mm-hmm.
I did really enjoy. But having said that, I don't think a woman would act that way.
Yeah. Yeah. That frustrated me a bit because I think that everything you just said makes sense, but I don't think I saw that on the page. Like I think that that can be our interpretation, but unfortunately, and that's one aspect that didn't make me love the book as much,
Mhm.
was this decision, especially of marrying Troy. And of course, like again, she's young, she could be naive, she obviously created some expectations for her marriage and everything, but still, from all of her actions prior to that and the way that she talks about marriage, there's even one or two lines, I didn't note it because I listened to the audiobook, but there's one or two scenes that she even says, no, but I have no need for marriage. Like right now, I'm good without a husband. I don't need it. I'm good with my life.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, good. That's good that you have security in yourself enough to be able to say that. Maybe one day you will want to marry, but right now it's not the right moment for you, and that's good of you to realize that, I guess. And then suddenly she makes this decision, and yes, it can be because of all of that, and I agree to a certain point, but I didn't really see that on the book. So that frustrated me a little bit. I think it came a little out of nowhere. And of course it would end badly, because of course it does. The way that Troy proposed to her and everything, I was like, no, this is red flag everywhere. But
Oh, for
anyway,
sure. Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, no, I thought this woman had, like, a well-established character that she maybe wouldn't accept marrying him, or at least not like this. I don't know. It felt weird to me. Um, so I
But
kind
I
of
mean,
didn't like that.
I still think it made sense because
Mm-hmm.
first she interpreted marriage from a woman's point of view, and she was like,
Mm-hmm.
I have no need of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessary for me. But then she met Troy and felt this passion that she had never felt
Mm-hmm.
before. And then she wanted to connect him and own him because of
Mm-hmm.
that feeling, and through that. And she says after they got married, I was so jealous that I decided to marry him.
Yeah.
So I feel
Yeah.
like then she started to view marriage and ownership and loss through a man's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
She projected that on Troy, which I feel like 2 days later she regretted,
Yeah.
obviously,
Of course.
because that's really dumb to do.
Yeah. 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 It was. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you in theory. I just wish it was a bit more explored in the book, I guess. I don't know. And this is because I was very invested in her character, and then I
Yeah,
just felt bad for her because, of course, it would end terribly. Um,
clearly, yeah.
um, Three suitors represent three aspects of love: erotic, possessive, and unconditional. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, obviously, each one of them brings something new to the table, not always a good thing to the table, but the three of them do have different aspects that they bring. Um,
Mhm.
and then again, we only get the good guy at the end, and that's heartbreaking. But anyway, um, with that said, yes, I guess we can talk about this. Doesn't have to
Yes.
do with the other man, but I told you before we went live that I didn't see one traumatic event happening, and that was when Fanny died, um,
Oh.
with her baby. And I was like, what?
Mhm. Yeah.
What is happening? And why does this happen a lot in Hardy's novels? Can we please stop? I was heartbreaking. I don't know. I just wanted to mention that because it was so sad, and I felt
Mhm.
bad for her. There's this one chapter where we just follow Fanny, right, where she goes. I don't remember where she was exactly, but she was about to meet Troy the next day, I believe. Um, and she is known as just the woman, which I thought was heartbreaking because it's like
Yeah.
she didn't even have a name. We didn't know a lot of her. And I just wanted to point that out because I feel like she's not, I mean, she is a major character for, how the story develops then, but we don't have a lot of her on page, but I really felt deeply for her. And it was very sad. I don't know. So I just
That was
wanted...
very tragic. Yeah, I think partly she's a tool for like Bathsheba's jealousy.
Yeah.
Because Troy does honestly love her, but maybe she's also a version of Bathsheba when she didn't have that money and that security. What would have happened to her with her passion that she has for a man like Troy? Because I think he probably married her because of her money.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
shocker.
Shocker. Yeah. Yeah, it was. I mean, I had seen the film before I read the novel for the first time, so I knew that would happen. So I was really shocked by it. But
yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to mention that since we were talking about Troy, because I thought it was really awful. But anyway, shall we talk about the other men? What do you think about Boltwood?
Well, that's a lost cause, isn't he? I feel like because he was offering marriage to Bathsheba as a marriage that would be convenient or for a woman, she was in no need of it. So he would never have worked it out. And then, dear Lord, that man needs to know the word consent because no is no. But
I know.
I think the great thing about his presence is that he is acting as a Victorian man would act in, I think, a romantic novel. And so many romantic novels romanticize his kind of behavior, like the pursuit and the offering of a nice life. But in that, he dehumanizes Bathsheba. And therefore, she has no interest in him. And I think one of the most important parts is just a little mention of their age difference, which completely shifts Boltwood's perspectives and his person as well, because he's never been interested in marriage or in any other person in a romantic way that we know of. And then suddenly in his 40s, he falls in love with this woman in her early 20s. And then you're like, that's weird, like, dude.
Yeah. It's weird, especially considering, the circumstances, right? And then he keeps pushing her, like with this promise, like, oh yeah, in the next 5 to 6 years or whatever, you're sure to marry me, right? Like, say it now. I'm like, stop. That was even more infuriating to me than Troy for some reason. And I think it was because of the consent part for sure. Oh my god, I don't even know. But it's exactly like you said, and I agree. It's what you would expect from a Victorian man of this this time and how he acts. And then again, I felt really bad for Bathsheba as well, because she was trying to say no multiple times. And those scenes were very hard to read. I'm going to say that. I don't know why. It kind of did something to me. I don't know. With her always saying no. Yeah, it was really uncomfortable for sure. Anyway, I'm glad that didn't end up happening. Not really. So that's good, I guess. Yeah,
I did really like his character because it showed that she had options and that she did not need to settle.
Yeah, that's true.
Enlarge that as well. And I do think I hate Troy more. But
yeah, for sure.
I just, anytime he was on the page, I was like, can he leave now?
Oh, I hate him more for sure. But the proposal aspect really frustrated me with Boltwood. I mean, both of them are awful. Let's just say that. But let's see. She felt guilty about the Valentine and prolonged her guilt for sending it to him. I know. I was the naive one, I have to say, because when that scene happened, the whole Valentine scene happened, I thought it meant to be funny. So like, oh, I'm sure nothing will happen because of this. I mean, it was a silly thing. Of course, people will know this was a little joke and everything's going to be fine. No, it wasn't. So, I don't know. Yeah, I get this, but this is not a reason for you to marry someone, especially not that type of person. So I really liked, though, what's the name of her friends? Is it
Libby?
Liddy?
Libby?
Libby?
Libby. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's
Libby.
B or B. I don't remember.
I don't remember. But I kind of like her. Their
Yeah,
scenes together.
same. Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, finally a female friendship. Let's go.
Yeah. That was really necessary in this book.
I know, and I was so relieved because at first I was not sure how I felt about her because we also didn't know a lot about her,
Mm.
but then they started having these very nice conversations where Bathsheba, just like with Oak, allowed herself to be vulnerable, and I was like,
Yeah.
yes, it's happening. We have one healthy relationship.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I
um,
really like our friendship too.
Lily, thank
Liddy
you.
with a
Yeah,
D. Yes.
with two D's.
Yeah.
Really. Um, yeah, I really liked her. I don't know. It was just a very sweet addition to the novel, I guess. I'm really glad she was there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because Bathsheba needed a friend, like a woman friend, preferably. So
Yeah.
that
I
was
always
nice.
like it when they have like, of course, on the farm there's so much stuff and there's so much about claws as well. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like Boltwood really lets that get to his head. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then, of course, Oak and Claus is very interesting as well because he goes
Mm-hmm.
like around the
Yeah.
entire novel. But then I feel like it's difficult to determine like Bathsheba's class. I feel like because she went from living with an aunt in quite poverty, I think,
Mm-hmm.
to owning that farm and to kind of being on the same level as someone like Boltwood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. True.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like that they're, like you said, it went like this, right? Their classes and financial stability. I really like that because, that's how life works as
Yeah.
well. One day you can have a lot, the next day you can lose everything, or, life is made of those big changes sometimes. And I really like that the book follows that rhythm of life in a way as well.
Mhm.
And that's also when you can really understand people's character and their motivations, their priorities, and their values.
Yeah.
And speaking of values, shall we talk about the one and only?
Gabriel Oak.
Woo! Okay, so we have one nice guy, which is good. I was excited to meet him because ever since Malena told me about this book, she told me that there was one character
Yeah.
that I was gonna love. And you were right, despite his flaws. One thing that I want to say, and I think we mentioned this in a previous discussion, I believe, but I love that Thomas Hardy always does this, if not always, like almost always. He defines good people by the standard of if you want to protect the animals, you are a nice person.
Yeah.
If you want to hurt them, you are awful. And I like that. I know it's very black and white, but it's true in my book, so that's good.
That's
um,
only like it never ages, something like
it
that.
never ages, never. So there you go, Oak. Thank you. You are the
Yeah.
best, just for that. But would you like to let us know what you love so much about him? And I'm guessing he's your favorite character. Is he in the book?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah,
I mean, he is the star of the show, in my opinion.
yeah.
To me, he is the main character,
Mm-hmm.
at
Mm-hmm.
least one of. But I
Yeah.
think viewing the book through his point of view is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I,
True.
I just really enjoyed him because he was such a patient man.
Yeah.
And I feel like he is in love with Bethua. There's no going around that, and he never questions it. I think like why he just knows that it is, but he doesn't really act upon it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
just really liked his honesty. I think
Mm-hmm.
in just doing the work and trying to improve himself in his work and always going forward. Um, and there are very cute photos on the internet where he holds animals. So
That definitely helps.
yeah, it does.
Oh, but I agree. I agree. I mean, he's a hard worker, but mostly I think he has a gentle soul. Um,
Mhm.
and again, with what you said, his honesty for sure, and the way that he doesn't let himself be corrupted by other people, I guess. Like he's one of the very few who's not necessarily influenced by all the gossip, at least not to an extreme.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's very admirable, I would say, someone who sticks to their values this way. And is patient and gives Bathsheba some space for her to, live her life, live her experiences, and if it comes to a time where they can finally be together, then that will happen. And if it doesn't, then he would be happy for her as long as she's happy as well. And I really appreciate that. Plus, yes, I mean, they are, for sure. Animals are good at character judgment. They are, for sure. So yes, I mean, really like them. I do think he was sometimes a bit, I wouldn't call it aggressive, but I don't know what the right word is. But I know it comes from a place of, being hurt, maybe, when he was talking to Bathsheba a few times, because he did love her. And obviously when she either didn't love him back or, pushed him away for some reason, he was obviously hurt. And so sometimes he didn't exactly answer her in a very polite, nice way, I guess. But that's understandable. I will say that. We have a question. What would you recommend to read? If you like Far from the Madding Crowd, then you should read next.
Oh my gosh.
That's a great question. What does it?
I mean, like another classic or something contemporary.
Yeah,
a classic. Like anything Gaskell would.
That's a good one.
I think like North and South would be.
That's a good one.
A good companion. Although it doesn't have like the same nature thing because it's set in a dirty, smelly town or city. Even. I think like the relationship dynamics have a similar vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that one.
Oh, I do agree. Yeah, I do agree because you also follow a lot of the workers aspect and how that's important to the plot as well. I would say that one, if I remember correctly, I think that one is more romantic than this one. Maybe kind of. I don't know, but they are similar-ish. I would say that's a good one.
Yeah, it doesn't have like the three love interests. It really is just between. Yeah, I mean Boltwood. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Yeah, it's more straightforward for sure. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I don't think I have a good enough recommendation, or at least one that's so similar to that one. I don't know. I'll think about it. If I come up with something, I will let you know. But right now, I don't know.
I mean, watch the film. That's my recommendation.
Watch the film. I need to watch. Is there a TV show as well, or is it just a movie?
No, the movie is, I want to say recent, but I think it's a 2015 movie. But there is an older movie. But what I really liked about, I saw an interview, of course, with the director because Google. And the old film is apparently like really based on Troy, where he's the main character. And the newer film was really focused on Oak as the main character. So just I would never watch the old one.
What? That's so what?
I feel like in that period of time were also films made where you had Wuthering Heights and Heathcliff was romantic. So I feel like they were kind of obsessed with those kind of male love interests.
Okay, so you mean old,
like old, like 70s old.
Oh, well, even so. But yeah, okay, I get it. I guess I don't, but I do at the same time. I don't know.
So, like the new film is very much Oak, all about Oak.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
We have a couple questions. Where does Hardy rank in your list of favorite authors of classics?
Honestly, I don't think he will get to my top 5.
Oh, he will not. Yeah, for me, he won't. Definitely.
No. In my top 10, but not my top 5.
Oh, I'm not sure he makes my top 10 either.
No?
No, I don't think so. Because looking back, I mean, I enjoyed this one a lot. And I do love Tess, although that's heartbreaking and I probably will never read it again. But other than that, all of his works have been kind of on the 3-star-ish for me. He's an amazing writer. I will give it that. Like his writing always, makes me feel a lot of things, especially with the nature descriptions again. But the stories, the characters, I don't know. I don't think he's a favorite for me. No, not even top 10. I like his work, but not enough to call him a favorite, I guess. No.
I
Yeah.
think for me, it's definitely like Far From Running Crowd and Tess are so high on my general
Mm.
list that I
Mm.
would put him in my top 10. But
Yeah.
I think he may be the only man there, though. So maybe he is one of the favorite men for me, which
Yeah.
that's hard for me to admit. So
That's good. I'm proud of you. Good job.
thank you. It doesn't really suit my t-shirt, but that's okay.
That's an amazing t-shirt, and all men should be feminist as well. So it makes complete sense to me. Um,
But Thomas Hardy wasn't, I think. So
what about you, Mimi? Is he one of your favorites, or anyone else in the chat? If he
oh
is, we'd love
yes.
to know. Let us know. Um, Wild Mountain Thyme by Rosamund Pilcher. There's a 2020 film with Emily Blunt and Jamie Dornan. I love Emily Blunt. How? What? Screenshotting this
I don't know
immediately.
that.
I didn't know either. Okay, I will save it. Thank you so much for the recommendation. I don't think I've heard of this book either. Um,
No.
Interesting. Thank you for letting us know. Did you enjoy the scene where the messenger boy Kane got the cider up his nose? Okay, I have to say, all the scenes with the farmers and everything in between were so funny to me. They were ridiculous. They were absurd.
Yeah.
I love them.
Except for when Joseph just let Fanny
Oh,
on the cotton outside while he was
yeah.
drinking. How
Yeah.
easily persuaded he was. Like I was so enraged. I was
No,
like, how incredibly disrespectful can you be?
I
But I feel
know.
like that also showed us that Oak wasn't easy to be persuaded by drink and
Yeah,
culture and other
exactly.
men.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, exactly.
that was so rude.
It was rude. But it was so funny though. Not that part specifically, but I don't know, all of these chapters with these men getting completely I don't know, lost and all the gossip and all the mess
Yeah,
that they
yeah.
create. It was funny sometimes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's
Well,
true.
yeah. Um, Hardy's nature description. Yes, I fully agree. I think that's been consistently my favorite thing about all of his books, all of them. So, yeah, for
I think
sure.
for me it is the Oak-like characters, which I feel Jude was like that.
Yeah.
I think maybe Tess is also
Mm-hmm.
an Oak/Jude-like character, and
Yeah.
just the tragedy and the sympathy that it invokes, and I find them just really interesting for me.
Mm-hmm.
I really love just his characters, but
Yeah.
maybe just because with all the nature descriptions, I don't always have to focus to really read them and know what they mean and how they tie
Mm.
to the narrative. I'm just like, oh, that's a pretty page, and I keep
Yeah.
reading. So maybe I should pay more attention to those elements.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that I get the full symbolism because I'm sure I not. You mentioned in the beginning, I think, the contrast between the fire and the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm sure there's something more behind that I don't really fully grasp. But when I read it, it does something to my brain. Like, this is so powerful. When I'm reading it, I'm like,
Yeah,
yes, nature takes care of all of us, and it can also destroy us. It's so easy.
that's so true.
Um, yeah.
I
So,
think this book is very biblical, just with the
mm,
names alone. And the most funny thing is, of course, the name Cain, that his mother
mm.
accidentally named him not after the hero, but the
Yeah.
anti-hero. Which and Bathsheba is also. I feel like it kind of sounds like a Greek myth, her
Mm.
story in the Bible. Which I think it's funny that Troy is the only like Greek name of everyone because you of
Oh,
course have Gabriel. So I feel like is that showing that he is like not a good Christian or something like that, and that he's
mm.
like a heathen in a way because he refers to the Greek myth and not the Bible. I mean, maybe that's far fetched, but that's
Wow.
something,
No, I love that.
or maybe that makes sense. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there are parts of Bathsheba's story in the Bible that are with Boldwood. I think like that relationship, and he is married to a soldier in the Bible, so that works. And then there's a man who's incredibly jealous, and
Mm.
um, like forces her. So we have kind of the Troy, Boldwood, Bathsheba, but I think the Oak character isn't part of the biblical version. And in the Bible, she doesn't get any point of view. She doesn't get a word. And I feel like that is so different in this book as well, because she has a farm of her own.
I love hearing about that. You see, all of those biblical references, they completely go over my head.
Oh, same.
So completely. But I appreciate hearing about them, truly. It just, then again, the benefits of sometimes even rereading books, especially classics, is that you start getting all of those little references that say so much about the characters usually. So that's really interesting. Thank you for pointing that out, because I would never get there.
For me, just after first read, I felt like Bathsheba is such a weird name. Who comes up with that? So I googled it, and then I, of course, googled for way too long, and then I knew those things when I started my second read. But I guess like Gabriel would also be a big part of the Bible, so I feel like maybe there would be connections to there.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that would be the only name, like on a first read, that I could get. All the other ones I wouldn't know. So, yeah.
I mean, like with Troy, like, would it mean like the whole like place that is like defeated by the other ones? Like, is it the Odyssey? Oh gosh,
I think so.
I'm like think guessing right now. Or that he like carries all the secrets, like the horse.
In the horse. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, treason and everything. That that matches.
But it also makes me think like an average Victorian reader would have the knowledge that we don't have about the Bible, because it's such a big part of education and just of general life. But I feel like they must have read this in such a different way than we do. Because we think like, oh my gosh, romantic, like dramatic story, and they'd be like, oh yeah, no, oh yeah, she's marrying the soldier, because of course. So
yeah, true. Oh god, yeah. Okay, well, that was very interesting. I mean, if anyone in the chat wants to add anything to that discussion,
or correct me, because I'm sure I'm wrong about some parts. I mean, Wikipedia only knows so much.
Oh, but it's good. And I mean, I should have known that these were, biblical names, or at least inspired by them, because that makes a lot of sense in these novels. So yeah, I like that. Yay. Thank you. All right. Sorry, I feel like I'm jumping from theme to theme and plot to plot, because my brain is full of stuff. But was there anything else that you would like to discuss that we haven't completely mentioned here? Like, is there anything maybe that you love about the book that you want to talk about, or anything else that you wrote down?
No, the things I wanted to talk about was marriage, which we did, farming, and character depth, which we all talked about. So yay.
Yeah. I do wish we had more. I feel like I'm always this person. People usually find it boring. I wish we had more chapters about just farming, calming farming, taking care of the animals. just being there. I was gonna say exactly that right now. Like all the chapters with Levin. Is it Levin? What? Oh God.
I think so. I never know if it's Levin or Levin.
Okay. I think it's Levin, but I can check it in a little bit. Yeah.
He used his own name.
I think so.
Yeah.
Those were my favorites. I love them so much when we are just hanging out in nature calmly and appreciating the beauty of nature,
Oh my God, Mary, those chapters were so pretentious.
Well, you know me, pretentious girl.
But I can be a working man. It's like, yeah, we get it, dudes. You do this for fun while other people do it so they don't starve.
That's so true, though.
So tired of them, but I'm sorry. I feel like anytime we hitch up anything Tolstoy, I'm just like rolling my eyes.
I thought that's why I didn't really mention Anna Karenina, because I was like, wait, did she hate that book as well? I'm not sure.
No.
Hold on.
I loved it. I just you were a bit.
Listen, it's just because I love nature description and hanging out with the animals peacefully. Give me more of that, please. That's basically it, but it's also interesting, of course, the way you mentioned that as well, that some people are privileged enough to do it because they love it or for fun, for pleasure.
Mhm.
And for other people, obviously, it's literally their livelihood. And it doesn't mean that they want to be there. They just have to. So, the
That's what I
contrast.
found so annoying about
Mhm.
that part of the book.
That's
But
valid.
I appreciate it in Far From Many Crowd because
Yeah.
yes, Oak loved it, and I think he had a true interest for
Mhm.
like veterinary things as well.
Yeah,
But he also has to. It's also
that's
his
true.
livelihood. So that's what I really liked about this book.
Yeah.
Where
Is
Boltwood was
oh
not really necessary, was he? Very
no.
easy to replace.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Biblical and literal allusions or references were probably expected in writing. Yes, exactly. It makes complete sense. I always forget to search a little bit more about that because obviously it will be included, or at least probably it will. So that's a flaw on my part. But it does make sense, of course.
I
Yeah.
wish they would include it in because of course this has a foreword or an afterword by
Mm.
Ronald Bly. And I
Mm.
wish those people would just assume that we're just like atheists reading this.
Yeah.
Like, give us
Like
some
we
help
don't know these
understanding.
things.
Yeah. Or like at least people who haven't read the Bible that we
Yeah.
would like to know. But
Yeah.
they always assume people know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's another one. I mean, I feel like that's much more obvious that it will include those references,
Mhm.
but it is a good example for sure, of course.
I really want to read that one, but I feel like I would
Same.
need to read it with like a book club and someone who
Mm-mm.
knows what they're doing. And
No,
then you don't want to read it?
no, that's very intimidating. I want to read it, but not in a book club.
Oh no, but I like not the one I'm hosting myself, but
Oh,
like
okay.
someone that is hosted by someone who knows everything about it and helps me through every
Oh,
chapter so that
oh,
I don't
interesting.
miss everything. Like that's
Mm,
or like a book that helps you read
mm,
the book.
yeah, that would be fun. I would seem so ignorant, and I mean I am, so I would have to admit my ignorance fully on that subject, but that could be a fun experience.
Oh, I would definitely not be hosting it. Like no one needs to know I'm that ignorant. Thank you.
I'm curious, does your edition also contain the extra chapter? Wait,
Squeeze me.
let me see. I didn't read it mainly because of the title, and you will understand when I say it. Where is it though? Okay,
My
chapter.
last chapter is a foggy night and morning conclusion.
I think yes, but my edition then proceeds to say appendix, unpublished sheep rot chapter. Do you have that?
No, this is
Okay,
such a recent purchase.
I
How dare they? I am pissed.
okay, I can send you pictures, and you will
I
tell
mean,
me if this is safe for me to read.
I I have multiple editions in the shop, so
Yeah.
maybe one of those will have it.
Oh, yeah,
And
because
but I want to read that because that just sounds like a
I
veterinary
know,
problem.
I know, but I mean, I wanted to read it, but then sheep rot chapter, I don't know what that means, and I'm scared, so I didn't read it.
I am so
Um,
pissed with my edition right now. I thought these were superior. Oh,
it's not.
excuse me.
I'm pretentious, Milena. I have to have the superior edition.
Apparently you do. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. Yeah, I didn't read it because it scared me. But maybe you can see other editions. I just thought it was fun, a fun edition. I reached the end and I was like, oh, what is this?
I
And
mean,
Troy is still alive, so it must have been in between some of the other chapters. So
oh, it's not the last chapter. No, because Troy is
no,
dead by the end, right? He was
yeah,
shot. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, just a little curiosity.
Okay, I'll read it and let you know if it's safe to read.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I
I will do
appreciate
that
that.
after this live show because I'm still
Oh,
rattled. I'm like, I read this 2 times.
oh yeah, true. That's so funny.
I'm so
Well,
glad
there
you
you
told
go.
me.
I mean, something else for you to read and enjoy, hopefully.
Or is it not just maybe it's that one chapter you mentioned and the newer editions just have it put in.
I don't know, because what do you know the number of your last chapter?
I think 57.
Let me see. Just checking. This is the appendix. Okay, it's before this one. 57, and then there's this one. So it's an extra. There you go.
Fun. I mean, we were talking about how it was too fast, the conclusion of this book. Like
Yeah.
Insta love. No, not insta love, but like they were in love at the end.
Yeah.
Which
but I mean, yeah. But I mean, if Troy is still alive, though, it must have been like towards the middle, right?
Oh,
so
it's also a possibility like didn't include in the publication because he changed the ending. Maybe in the original ending, Troy didn't die. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know, because I can see.
I feel like there are a lot of hints as well that Boltwood would just die, like not in prison, but with his bad health, or from all the dramatics he goes through. That he gets some mysterious Victorian disease because of all his passion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's so bad we cannot ask him.
I know. That's sad. Anyway, there's that. Jennifer Brooks had a lot of content on Dante. Yeah, I certainly need to watch that whenever I read the book, because I will need some help for sure. And she had amazing content. So, all right, everyone. Is there anything else that you would like to mention? Did we forget something? Probably, but
You mean about the book or about the read along?
Yeah, the book. The read along we can mention in a few seconds, I guess. But
no, I don't think about the book. Just I'm happy that you liked it as well, because I know that you started it quite late, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's reading it and she hates it, because you always hide it when you hate your friends' books. So I'm like, oh gosh.
I was a little nervous for that, I will say. I was because I was like, oh my gosh, this is Melena's favorite. What if I hate it? I'm sorry.
It's not my favorite. It's up there.
Yeah, exactly. Favorite, like, Hardy novel, at least one of them. And I was like, okay, there's a bit of pressure here. But really, but but no, I didn't hate it at all. It's definitely the best one we've read so far, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
This opens a whole topic of which edition should we read, what the author intended, or previous versions. This is a question about so many authors, so many books. That's true. Yeah. And the sad part is we'll probably never know the right answer. So, there's that.
I know that with The Tenet of Whitehall Hall, like the original published, like from M. Bronte, and then they adjusted a lot of things and published that all through the Victorian era, and then also the 90s, I believe, and only the really newer versions have the original. I think in that perspective, it's quite easy, like to not have Victorian centurism. I'm saying that right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
And the same with, I think, Oscar Wilde as well, where a lot of the more saucy parts were.
That's true. Yeah.
But like with Thomas Hardy, I never know, because when I listen to the audiobook along with reading, there are always a few words that are changed. So annoying, but
yeah, I saw that too. Yeah. Oh god. And well, that's a whole other discussion. So we don't have time today, but it would be a very interesting conversation for sure.
I mean, with children's books, I think it's a very different conversation. Personally, I don't think I would read classics with my kids.
Oh no,
unless they are at an age where I will be able to explain things. But I don't know. I think modern writers are doing a great job. And also, I was traumatized as a kid by Roald Dahl. So
I've never read anything by him, actually.
My mom used to read everything when I was way too young.
Really?
I was so scared of so many things.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's so creepy. His work is so creepy.
I know. I mean, I know. I'm aware of it, kind of, but I've never read anything.
Especially the witches like witches are
Oh,
among us, and they look like normal women. So of course, I was afraid of women for a while. Yeah,
women! I'm a woman! Am I scary? Oh god. Oh my god. That's very sweet though. It's very endearing.
I was
Um,
scared of everything as a child. Snow White gave me nightmares. So
oh, that's fair though. I mean,
yeah,
yeah. That scene with the forest, the creepy trees, I mean, that's scary
oh
for a
no, it
child.
was the witch that scared
And
me the
also the
most.
witch, of course.
My mom said I was very well behaved after watching that movie.
Like, don't tease me.
I'll give you an apple.
Can you imagine? Oh my god. All right, everyone. So I think that's it for Far From the Madding Crowd. I almost said the wrong title. What? Anyway. um, so now we would like to announce our next book, which will be I forgot the title again. A Pair of Blue Eyes. Is
Yes,
that
yeah,
right? Okay,
yes,
good.
yes.
That will be actually our final book for this read along. So we are also here to announce that we've decided to end with that one so we can end the read along this year and maybe have another project next year. We don't know. We'll still, chatting about it. So we'll see. But for now, this will be our next book and final one as well. It will be on Melena's channel on a date to be announced. But if I had to guess, I mean, we will let summer pass, obviously, because everyone's on vacation and everything. So I would say probably more towards September, October, maybe,
Yeah, I think
the
so.
live show. Yeah. We can talk about that one as well as do just an overall, perspective about the entire read along, how it went.
Yeah.
Maybe we can talk about favorites, least favorites. So that will be fun. And so I want to take this opportunity to thank you all for being here, for listening to us. Thank you to Milena, of course, for being on this journey with me.
Thank
It's been
you.
so fun, of course. And do you have anything else you want to add? Did I forget something? I always think I'm forgetting something.
I don't think I think it's funny that we're ending with its debut as our last.
Yeah. I mean, it's poetic.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's going to be slightly fun because I don't think it's super good. So I think
That's funny.
as long as it's like not the Professor by Charlotte Bronte saying not good,
Oh God.
I think we're going to be okay.
I mean, if it is, it will make for a very hilarious live show where we just hate the book and then say it's our least favorite for sure, and then move on.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But thank you again to you and to everyone for joining us. And we will leave all the details on Instagram and Discord for the next live show whenever it happens. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, thank you all so much. And we'll see you again soon. Bye, everyone. Bye.